All right, hello everyone. Thank you so much for taking your time and joining this info session today. My name is Carrie and I'm the admissions manager of the International Full-time MBA program here in RSM, Erasmus University. I'm glad to let you know more about our MBA program today. I have been doing MBA recruitment for a little bit more than 10 years now. I'm originally from Hong Kong, have been living in the Netherlands also a bit more than 10 years. So if you have questions about how it is living in the Netherlands, the weather, the Dutch people, the language, etc., I will be happy to help. And we are going to see the agenda today. So first of all, we are going to see special about Rotterdam. So we're going to know a little bit more about the city, and then we are going to take a look at the curriculum, and then we are going to see what kind of classmates you will have, the class profile, what kind of student activities, then your career after the MBA, how does it look like with the help of RSM, and then some more like operational thing like admissions requirement, application process, next deadline, etc. And then I will pick up some questions on the floor and then I will try to help you out. So first of all, I don't know how many of you have been to Rotterdam. I think a lot of tourists, when they come to the Netherlands, they usually come to Amsterdam first. I can imagine. I live in Amsterdam, this the capital. But Rotterdam is actually as international, if not more international than Amsterdam. It's also one of the four major cities here in the Netherlands. We have one of the biggest port in Europe. In the photo you see now, it is actually a very nice sunny day in the city center of Rotterdam. So you can see that the nationality is growing year over year in this major city. Of course, then we have a lot of nice different Japanese restaurants or Indian restaurants or Spanish restaurants here. So for all the expats here. We have one of the biggest port in the world, and still we are the largest in Europe. We have a very clean city in a way that a lot of people, they actually bike. I mean, in the Netherlands, biking is something that can take you almost everywhere in the city. We have more bikes than people sometimes in the household. So it's also really good for exercise, but also really good for the environment. So if people ask you, oh, do you need to speak Dutch in the Netherlands or in Rotterdam? What I can tell you is that the Dutch are, I think, they're really, really good in their English. They are the best non-native English speakers in the world, especially the Rotterdammers. And they also have a very open attitude. They are very friendly. They are very happy to talk to international professionals, students, tourists. So they have the language ability and they are happy to speak to you. So I think this is quite good news for expats like us, that we feel welcome here. We can call it home. After knowing a little bit about the city, maybe you want to already know about our curriculum. So on the screen itself, you can see the curriculum, which is also available in our brochure. So I'm not going to spend too much time on this part because this is definitely something that you can read it online. But I just want to tell you that we offer a 1-year full-time MBA program. It starts in January and it ends in December. We only have one intake every year and it's always in January. So for now, we are recruiting students for the January 2022 start date. Application is still open. So if you want to catch the last couple of rounds of application, just make sure that you reach out to us so you can do it on time. The MBA itself, it helps you in, I would say, 3 different ways. One is to really help you learn about business knowledge. No matter whether you're a finance person or a lawyer or a marketing person, consultant, what, you are not good at every single part of the business, and you definitely also need to learn about the integration, the collaboration of different business functions within an organization. So the first couple of terms, we call it foundations and practice of management. So you're going to learn a lot of different areas of the business. So for example, if you are an engineer, you may need to learn more about finance or more about marketing. If you are already a finance person, you may want to learn more about strategy. If you are a marketing person, you may want to learn more about the operations or HR, accounting, or supply chain management. and how all these different units work together. As an organization, that's why we have all these core courses in the first half of the year. In the second half of the year, then you will do more projects. I mean, during the first 2 terms, you already do a lot of projects and case studies, very practical way of learning. But then it brings to the next level when it comes to the second half, when you have 4 weeks living management project, where you're going to work on a live case. Like it's a real company here in the Netherlands, they have a live case that needs to be solved. So you and your team will work like external consultant for them, helping them solving a business case. And then afterwards, we also have skill boot camps where you're going to have a lot of sessions with your soft skills coaches, so that you can really see how you can continue developing your leadership skills. At this term, you can also start choosing, if you want, an area that you want to focus. You want to choose advanced career concentration, you can choose from 5 different areas, namely finance, marketing, strategies, supply chain operations management, and sustainability. And then you can choose it as your advanced course. You can also choose electives that are relevant to these areas. And in the elective term, which is in term 4, you can also choose courses related to general management like leadership or entrepreneurship or negotiations, etc. In term 4, a lot of things can happen. First of all, if you want to go for an exchange, it can be a possibility. Of course, every year, I mean, normally we do have exchange in term 4. Sometimes it can be different. For example, like next year, we may have exchange at a different time of the year, depending on other schools as well, and because of the COVID situation. But normally, if you don't do your exchange, you stay here to do your elective, it is also possible for you to do a part-time internship if you want. So internship, first of all, it is not mandatory. So if you want to do it, that's possible. You can do it in the last term, like a part-time, 2 or 3 days a week. And then after the 12 months curriculum, then maybe you can also do a full-time if you want. In term 4, you also have project time. The project time, it is a few weeks project that you're going to use this design framework to develop a project regarding the sustainability. So for example, I see students doing projects about recycle bottles for consumer products, or a platform for shared tools. So then it is something that when they practice it during this project time, and then when they go to work in the future in the company, maybe they can continue developing this idea and then bring it to their workplace. So this is a little bit about the curriculum. And then maybe you would like to know more about who will be your classmates. So let's take a look at the class profile. So on the screen itself, you can see the class profile of the current batch. So currently we have 152 students in this class. The average age is 30, but we also have students that are as young as 25, or as senior as maybe late 30s, early 40s as well. So it depends on what your MBA goal is afterwards to see if it is the program that is suitable for you. We have our average years of experience is 7 years, but as I said, I mean, the age is also quite wide range. So we also have students who just meet the requirements 3 years. We also have students who have more than 10 years of experience in class. We have a good representation of female students. So I know that it is still our goal to go to 50-50, but we are working on it. So with the current class, we have 44% female students. What I will really need to highlight is about the international students percentage. So we are very proud that 99% of our students are international students coming from abroad. With 152 students in class, we cover 46 different nationalities. So it's a truly global environment for you to learn from one another. So when you come from a different culture, different way of working, different value, different environments, you definitely see the same business case from a very different angle. So it's important for you to be able to work in a global setting like this, because let's say if you want to work in global companies, let's say in the Netherlands here or in Europe, then this will be just a very similar setup. in this kind of office as well. So then the MBA classroom itself, it is like a not tryout, but like environment for you to practice how to work with global professionals, how to solve conflicts, how to do your communications, how to motivate others. So that's why our students really like the fact that they are surrounded by so many international professionals with them in the classroom. On the screen itself, you can see that our students are really active. So some of them, they may travel together. Of course, they don't only just study together. I think the atmosphere of RSM is that it's very collaborative. Students, they study together. They may have study groups to help out, especially courses like finance or accounting, whereas some of our students may need more help. So we always have some expert in class that actually will hold student group. But other than that, they also go for sport events or other like maybe food festival, or they join different competition together. They go to study tour together as well. So you see that we also joined the MBATS, the MBA tournament, which is a joint business school sports event where different MBA schools in Europe actually they do it together. So it is also a good way of networking, not only within your school, but also other European school MBA students as well. Our students also join different competition. For example, we join case cracking competition with INSEAD, or we join the finance competition in Bocconi. We also host our own competition, which is the private equity competition, where other schools, MBA students join us, so that we learn from one another in the European setting. Of course, you may think, oh, all these kind of events, how is it happening with the pandemic? So I must say that the good news is our students are back on campus. So earlier this year, our students were doing part of the MBA online because it was locked down at that time for a few months. But then slowly from April onwards, students were coming back slowly, gradually on campus. And then now, because there is not a lot of restrictions already in the Netherlands, the corona measures, most of them has already left. So our students are all welcome back on campus. So they are happily doing their studies and having lunch together, having their study trips together. So what I can see is that the pandemic has been a very good learning moment for them to really work together in a non-traditional way. Of course, I mean, most of them they were using Zoom at that time, but it also requires more skills in terms of communications, different way of working. So I must say that our students actually learn a lot, not in a traditional way during the pandemic. The next thing you may want to know is about the employment after the MBA. I mean, are going to quit your job and do your full-time MBA here. So what's next afterwards? So on the screen itself now, you can see the part of the employment reports of last year's graduates. So you can see that with 99% international students, mostly coming from outside Europe, most of our students, they actually stay and find their first job within Europe, 86%, and with more than half of them in the Netherlands. So you can see that the relocation rate is very high. Some of them may go to other continents, some due to different reasons, they may need to go home. For example, maybe they are company sponsored, so they need to go home. Or some of them due to family reason, they need to go home. But otherwise, most of them, they do stay. And besides changing location, a lot of them also have changed their industry and their roles and responsibilities. And some of them, they did what we call a triple jump. That means they change all these elements in their career. So how do they actually do it? So we have a career team exclusive for our MBA students to help our MBA students in two ways. So first, of course, is to help them in their career planning. So you have regular coaching sessions. You will need to talk to your career coach about your long-term goal, your short-term goal, and then they will give you advice about how you fill in the gap of the knowledge and skills that you will need in order for you to achieve these milestones. They may also connect you with alumni. We also have Mentor Me program to help you out in your long-term journey. Of course, it's also important to find your job already, right? So we organize a lot of company visits, and all these company visits help you to understand all these companies, if it is something for you, or what kind of candidates they are looking for, and how you can become an attractive candidate to them. So it's also a good way for you to expand your network through all these company visits. We also have job fairs several times a year. So companies come over to like give a company presentation and then go through the recruitment process with our students. We also in the Netherlands have a very favorable visa policy. So after the MBA program, you're entitled to a 1-year search visa. So that means that after your MBA, you don't need to rush yourself or being very stressed that you must find a job next month, otherwise you need to pack your suitcase and go home. It's not like this. So you have a 1-year search visa for you to, as a work permit. You can use it to stay here and look for a job that you truly want, or you can use it as a work permit already and work for any companies that you want. So that means that even if you find a job, maybe you don't get a work permit right away, you don't have to worry because you have your own work permits. So it's also good for you to show the company using a few months or a year that you are a valuable part of their company, so that they can apply for the work permit for you. So this is definitely something that helps a lot of our students. But what I can also tell you is that in the Netherlands, the work permit is not like sky high to reach the requirement. I think compared with a lot of countries, for example, the US or Switzerland, I think the criteria of the Netherlands is maybe not so high. So that means that it's not too difficult to get a work permit here. And all these global companies, because they usually hire a lot of expats anyway, so they are quite used to the idea, they are familiar with the process already. So I believe that if they think that you are a good candidate for them, a lot of them will be happy to sponsor your work visa. And another thing about Korea is I get these questions very often is that, oh, do I need to speak Dutch in order to live here or to it's not really necessary for work or to have a good life. I must say, personally, I've been living in the Netherlands for a bit more than 10 years. Yes, I did go to take some Dutch classes. I got my Dutch exam passed, but I always joke that I don't think I can even work in a supermarket if I have to work in Dutch. But I mean, all these kind of global companies, they all have like expat environments. So speaking only English will be most of the time be sufficient for you to find your job, to continue accelerating your career to a more senior management level even. I have also seen a lot of senior management or C-level professionals here who are expats. So they are not necessarily need Dutch to go to the top to be the boss here. So that's quite good news, I think, for many of us. And then, of course, our alumni also comes back to recruit very often, come back to recruit both the internship and the full-time job. So expanding your network in our alumni channel is very useful for you to know about their experience of the MBA, what they do to benefit fully from the MBA program, what they wished they knew at that time so that then they can do things differently. And of course, the job environment, the working environment here, or the career progression in Netherlands here. So I would say that if you are going to RSM, let's say if you apply, you are maybe even registered, I suggest you to reach out to our alumni, ask for their experience, maybe have a chat, and then they will share with you what they think. Here is a message from our class president. Her name is Christine. She graduated last year and she's currently working for Unilever. Of course, a lot of our students has already reached out to her. But I would say that reach out to our alumni if you want, different ones, and then to check out what they say about our MBA program. And then the next part of this session is about something more like logistics, right? Application. So first of all, what are the admissions requirements? We will need our students to have at least a bachelor degree, 3 years postgraduate full-time working experience, a GMAT or a GRE score. So this is mandatory. We don't necessarily need you to have a TOEFL or IELTS test, except for some ability that they may need, like needed for visa, but this is not the majority. But we do need a GMAT or GRE. We accept both the physical test and the online test. And so if you have a bachelor degree, 3 years of experience, and a GMAT, then yeah, you can submit your application. The process is that we always suggest our candidates to have a conversation with us, maybe a profile assessment, share with us your CV or your LinkedIn profile. In some cases, we will maybe have a call with you to see what questions you have, how we can help you out. And then when you submit your application, then we are going to have a first evaluation. Let's say if you're selected to the next process, then it's the Kira assessment, video essay, written task. So basically 3 questions to answer online. Then shortlisted candidates will go to interview, like Zoom interview, half an hour to 1 hour, depending on how the conversation goes. Will be with one of the admissions team, like myself or other of my colleagues from the admissions team. We ask quite a lot of questions about yourself as a person, because leadership potential is something that we really want to see. And it's also a major part of the MBA studies. Remember when we were looking at the curriculum, I said that there are 3 things that you actually get from the MBA. One is the business knowledge, right? What are the second and the third thing? So the second is the leadership skills, the soft skills, which is something that you can't learn it within a month or just read a book or just by like watching some YouTube. You need to learn it through doing it, like practicing. So the MBA program provides you a platform, an academic platform for you to practice your soft skills, how to solve tensions when you have crisis, for example, or when you have problem you need to solve. What if there is a mistakes made? How are you going to change it? So these are the soft skills that we want to see. Of course, then the third thing is your network. That's why I said reach out to the alumni to also expand your network. Going back to the admissions process. So after the interview, the admissions committee will check all the applications elements again, your Kira, your professional references, your essay, etc. And then we are going to make a final decision, and then we will inform you the decision. The scholarship will also be decided at the same time. So you don't need to submit any extra essay or an extra interview for your scholarship. If you are awarded a scholarship, then when we inform you that you're admitted to the program, you will also get to know and also knowing the amount. So when we update you, we will give you the decision of all the things for your registration. So let's say if you're now all excited about the January start date and you really want to see if you can submit an application. So what are the important days? So we have one application deadline coming up next week, 5th of October, and then the final one on the 2nd of November. No matter whether you are international students, if you need a student visa to come to the Netherlands or not, you can still apply to these 2 rounds. So these 2 rounds are for all the candidates, even if you need a student visa. So I would suggest that if you are very eager to apply, maybe contact the admissions team to see if there's anything still missing, and then we can help you out. Now I'm going to see what questions you have. And in the meantime, I'm going to put the contact details on screen so that you can see our email address. So my name is Carrie, and I am responsible for the APAC region, Asia Pacific, Australia, New Zealand as well. My colleague Charlene, she is for EMEA, and my colleague Maria, she's for the Americas. So depending on where you're based, so you can contact us accordingly. There is one question, interesting. It is about the Dutch course. Okay, first of all, can I be very Dutch and speak it in a very direct way and ask you, why would you want to learn Dutch during the MBA? I'm saying this because I don't think it's really something so urgent that you need to do it during the MBA. Okay, you will be living in the Netherlands, and probably you will find a job here and continue working here. And you may think, okay, it would be nice to learn Dutch. First of all, if the urgency is not very high here, because I go out here to restaurants, to hospital, to talk to the tax authority or anything, everyone speaks really good English. So you can actually survive quite well. And also finding a job, our students usually they find a job in global companies, so they don't necessarily need a lot of Dutch to actually find a job or to continue. Okay, you're thinking, but I really want to integrate. I really want to learn Dutch. Okay, fine. But don't use your MBA time to learn Dutch. Maybe do it afterwards. Maybe when you are in the MBA program, you're doing such a big investment in terms of time and finance. Maybe you make use of more the MBA elements for yourself first. Really make use of all what you can do within the MBA first during this 1 year. And then maybe afterwards, then if you want to take Dutch classes, it's possible. Within your Erasmus University, we have a language center. You can learn Dutch, you can learn other languages as well. And of course, there are also other like language school, language center here in the Netherlands. Imagine we have so many expats, and of course some of them they do want to learn Dutch. So then there are quite a lot of study group here. You can take it online or physical classes, language group. So if you want to learn Dutch, yes, but don't do it during the MBA. This will be my personal opinion. Okay, if you really want it, fine, but do it afterwards. You can do it with Erasmus Language Center or other schools. Another question here is about documents for applications. Let me share with you again what you need to submit. So for your application, you need to submit your, you need to fill in the online application form on the portal, obviously. You will need to include your CV, your academic documents like your bachelor or master, diploma, transcripts. If it is not in English, you need to provide also a translated English copy, so both languages. You will need to write an essay. The essay topic is in the online application system. It is related to our mission statement to be the force of positive change. Around 500 words. If you want to submit any additional documents, depending on your own situation, is possible. Maybe some of the candidates, they may, I'm a chartered CFA. Can I also send it to you? Because I think it will make my application stronger. Feel free to do so. Or if you have, let's say, something you really need to explain, maybe a significant long career gap. If you want to really write an extra piece of essay, that's also possible. You also need to submit your GMAT or GRE score. So you can send it, upload it in the system, but you also need to send the official score to our school as well. You need to provide 2 professional references. The good news is that you don't need to ask them to write a letter. So you will need to provide their name and email address in the system. They will receive an email, and then in the email, there's a link for them to fill in the reference form online. So that's quite efficient. So you don't need to think about, how should I write it? What should I write? And how long should I write? 1 page or 2 pages? It's not necessary. They just have to fill in the form. 2 professional references, just to remind you, we don't accept academic references. So don't go back to the school and ask the professor to do that. You need to ask someone who knows you as a professional, people that you work with, your manager or your previous manager. That's also possible. So what else? So far, I think that's all. Your passport copy. These are something that you also need to include. So these are the documents you need to submit. Next questions. Can students also take other classes held by RSM? Do you mean like not MBA classes? You mean like MSc classes or other classes? If that is the case, I'm afraid that's not possible because we cannot really interrupt the students of one another's program. So for example, within the MBA class, we also wouldn't have MSc students coming and take some classes from us. That's not possible. But we have a wide range of electives that you can choose from, for example. And trust me, I think you have more classes that you can actually take. The core courses is already very demanding, especially at the beginning of the program. And for the elective, we have over 40 electives for our students to choose from. So not sure if it is really necessary for you to take other classes. And don't forget that every program has a very different focus. So if you're doing an MBA, I believe you want to attend classes that are really practical, really learning how to do business, maybe not too academic or not too theoretical, because otherwise you have to go to an MSc class. So I'm not sure if taking other classes is something that you will want to do. Next question is, your previous manager has moved job to a new company. Can you still get a recommendation? Yes, of course. I mean, your previous manager have changed the company, but I don't know if it's a he or she, still know you as a person, right? So your previous manager, even if they have changed to another company or even if they have retired already, they can still be your reference. That's not a problem. Because in the reference form, they will need to talk about how they actually know you. So maybe they say that, I've been I worked with Carrie like for 5 years. 2 years ago, I was her direct supervisor for these 5 years, something like this. That's not a problem. Next question. What is the interaction between the centers and students? So someone interested in energy industry will be able to engage with the energy industry through the Center of Future Energy. I think you're talking about maybe specific areas with the industry. So first of all, Erasmus University have different center. So if you are interested in some collaboration with different kind of Erasmus center, please feel free to do it together with your classmates. Maybe have a group of them, maybe through your student club. So it can be energy club, it can be entrepreneurship club, so it can be data analytics center as well. So if you have a group of you through your student club, you want to have some collaboration with this kind of center, that's possible. Also, this goes the same with other companies as well. If there are events that you would like to join as a group, that's possible, of course. Next question: if you're applying now and if you're admitted, can you defer your admissions to the next intake? Okay, admissions deferral is on a case-by-case basis. So it really depends on what reasons you need to defer and the status of how you are admitted to the program. So let's say if you are granted a deferral, please understand that you will still need to complete the registration process first, submit all the documents and deposit first. And then next year you will need to commit to, for example, a new tuition fee and the new terms and conditions. So short answer is yes, it's possible, but we need to understand what situation it is first before we can grant it. So it's on a case by case. Next question. Is this program it's about accreditation. Interesting question. I got this question very often. It's about we as a program is a 1-year program, and most American schools have 2 years MBA program. So first of all, if you look at our accreditation, we are triple crowned, which is only 1% of the university in the world actually have this triple crown accreditation. And out of these 3, one of them is AACSB, which is an American accreditation. That means it is recognized in the US. If you look at the 2 years MBA program in the US to compare with, let's say, 1 year or 1.5 years MBA program in Europe, because in Europe it's usually 1 year or 15 months, maximum 18 months. Not very often they have 2 years. The credit hours are actually the same. So that means that the time and the credits that you actually spend on your studies is the same. What's difference is that, at least from my observation, is that MBA students in the US are usually younger. Maybe they have a little bit less working experience in average. So maybe they will require some foundation courses or a compulsory internship. That's why they do a 2-year program. And for our school, for example, at least, we don't need you to do, let's say, a preparation course. Internship is also optional. So if you want to do it, fine. You can do it part-time during term 4, or if you want to do it full-time for a few months, it's also possible. But then it's not that you need an internship in order to find a job. So that's why we can do it within 1 year. So to answer your question is accreditation, our program, it is like highly triple crown accredited, even if we compare to any schools in the world. And a 1-year program have the same credit hours as a 2-year program. Next, what does the employment trend look like for the current batch? In case this data is available. Our students, the current batch in September, they are doing their electives. So I don't think we have very solid figure about how many of them have already found a job. I do know that maybe what I can share with you what I observed from last year's batch and the job environment, how they have gone through last year and this year, what is happening. I think last year when COVID hit us, I think a lot of companies didn't know what to respond. We saw a lot of hiring freeze, restructure or layoff. So our students from last year, it was a very challenging year for them to find a job, especially for, let's say, the first 9 months. But I think things started to change already in the last quarter of last year, that students, they had a lot of calls and interviews already like October and November. Some companies who had a hiring freeze, they hired back already or even more. So let's say, for example, last year I saw students starting working in Amazon in August and then in November again. So that means they did hire the people that they didn't plan to hire. So I would say that the recovery is definitely happening quite strong here. The Dutch economy has always been very strong and solid and very diverse. So when recovery happens, we have a lot of like tech company, consumer products, supply chain operations. These are like stronger than ever. So that's why the recovery has been really strong. And I do also see that the current batch, I do see students actually having full-time jobs or internships already. So I don't know really the percentage yet, but I think we are all very positive in terms of the economy here and the job market here. The next question. Can you reach out to have a CV assessment? Yes, of course. I would suggest you to do it through our website or email us with your LinkedIn profile or your CV. Share with us, then we can do a profile assessment for you and also see, if you have further questions. If you are another one is about campus visit. So first of all, I don't know where you're located. If you're applying to the Netherlands, please take a look at all the travel measures first to see if you actually can come into the country. If you are already based in Europe or in the Netherlands, or you can come in anyway, check with the admissions team to see if it is possible to have any in-person meeting or campus visits. I would say that maybe check with us first to see the days that you plan to visit, to see we have classes, for example, or what is the measure there. Next question. Can we submit an application without a GMAT or GRE first and then submit it later once available after deadline? I don't know which deadline that you are planning to do, October or November. So usually we do require you to have GMAT or GRE score when you submit your application. Otherwise, it is not possible for us to have a full evaluation on your application. So then we may not be able to move into the next stage of the application. Sometimes maybe there are some very special situations that we can also see if we can do it in a different way. If you're talking about, or let's say if you are saying, I'm submitting my application today, I don't have a score yet, but I'm taking my test next week. Okay, then at least we know that it's happening soon, that maybe we can plan your interview next week or the week after we got your GMAT score. If you're talking about November deadline, it will be very tight in terms of timing, because then if you don't have a GMAT by the time when you submit your application in early November, how soon are you going to have it? I think you need to discuss with us, because if it is not on time, then you won't be on time on your visa. So I would say that maybe send an email to us and let us know your plan. Let's say, when are you planning to apply? When are you taking your GMAT? And then we can see whether it is possible, okay? Another question is, if your 3 years of experience is not full-time, it's part-time. Okay, so I think in your case, if your working experience is not always full-time, because maybe you were doing some part-time jobs, maybe send a detailed CV to us, and then we can take a look and count it together with you, what we can count into towards the working experience that we accept, and then see if you are eligible. That's what I would suggest. Another question is whether there is a minimum GMAT score. So officially, we don't have a minimum GMAT or GRE requirement. The average GMAT score of our students is 640. 640. This is the average. If you are taking a GRE, then we convert it into a GMAT score. So for example, let's say if your GRE is 160, then it's 640 for GMAT. Of course, a different combination will also result into a different GMAT score as well. So, but the average of GMAT is 640 and we accept a range around it. I do need to remind you that GMAT is not the only thing that we look at, but your soft skills, your leadership potentials, these are all the things that we highly look at as well. So don't focus only on the GMAT, but also focus on showing us who you are, especially if you have strong resilience, or if you have a lot of international exposure, or if you have been personally or professionally involved in being a force of positive change, sustainable business, making social impact, women in leadership. These are the things that we highly appreciate. So this will be my suggestion. Don't focus only on the GMAT. We recruit a person, not only a number. The next question, is there any sort of application fee waiver? Okay, application fee waiver is, we grant it on very special cases, but with this info session, I'm really happy to announce that since you have attended this info session, we really appreciate your time. If you're going to submit your application, send an email to one of our admissions team member with your full name, of course, then we can cross-check it with the attendance of today, and then we can grant you a fee waiver in the system itself. Next question. The next deadline, October deadline, is it for international students to start in January because of all the visa process? Yes, basically, the coming two deadlines, October and November, they are both for international students. And let's say if you apply even in early November, if you cooperate with us in terms of the time frame of booking an interview or making your paper ready, registration according to all the deadlines that we guide you, you will be on time for your visa. So I would say that if you want to submit your application for the January intake, of course, I would tell you to do it sooner, like as early as possible. But even if you really submit it with the last deadline in early November, it is still possible. We will still be on time. All right, so there have been quite many questions, and I really enjoy such an interactive session. If you have any questions, please, you can drop an email to the admissions team with your CV or with your LinkedIn profile, or we can continue the conversation. And then I would say now, thank you so much for your time, and I hope that I will help you and see you in Rotterdam next year or the year after. Thank you. Bye-bye.